All right, as everyone is settling in and enjoying their desserts, which I'm sure are fantastic, I wanted to just take this time to welcome you all to the first ever Monona Grove Education Foundation Gala and Silent Auction. I'm Jennifer Pickle, and on behalf of the foundation, I'd like to thank you for coming tonight. Before we get started, I would like to introduce our board of directors. If you could stand so everybody can see you. John Weinberger is our president. Ed Young is our treasurer. Bill Ramaker is our vice president. I don't think he could make it tonight. Mary O'Connor is our secretary. And then we have Jay Kiefer, Jane Beebe, Sue Carr, and myself are the other members. We have two emeritus members, Gordon McChesney and Larry Schmidt. And we have two ex officio members, our superintendent Dan Olson and school board member Susan Manning. This board has worked tirelessly for the benefit of our school district, and it has been my honor to be a part of that. One of the main goals of the foundation is to provide grant money for our teachers and staff. Our grant season begins on October 15th and ends on December 31st. After a series of reviews by our superintendent and director of curriculum and the foundation's grant committee, the successful applicants are chosen and the grants are awarded in the spring. Tonight we have 4 of our successful candidates from the 2012-2013 grant season, and our superintendent, Mr. Dan Olson, will introduce our winners.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm very pleased to be able to introduce our recipients, or the 4 recipients that are going to speak to you tonight, and they'll have an opportunity to talk about the projects and the way that the grant awards were used to benefit our students in the Monona Grove School District. We're extremely pleased to have that assistance with us, and I think you'll get a good flavor for the creativity, the innovation that we have from a number of our staff members in how they really put this money to good use that have pretty profound impacts on our students. And I'd first like to recognize award winners who are not able to be with us this evening. Some of the grants were written in cooperation with teams of teachers and administrators, and others were by individuals. But the teachers that were unable to join us tonight are Jessica Parkas, Elizabeth Hartung, Sarah Olson, Emily Foster, Kelly Freidenlund, Deb Hoffman, and Denise Meyer. And so I'd like to begin. Our first speaker is Renee Tennant, who is our principal at Glacial Drumlin School.
Good evening. On behalf of the students of Glacial Drumlin School, I would like to thank the foundation for our grant of $2,000 that we used to purchase additional technology for our students. We chose to purchase iPads, which were then used to be part of a larger class set of iPads. Most of you know that there are lots of ways to use iPads in learning and in the school setting, but I'd like to give you a few examples of how we use them in science. Specifically, there's an app called Google Earth that our students use to have more of a real-time experience, zooming in and looking at features of the Earth more closely, or zooming out and being able to see the Earth from various perspectives. There's also an application that allows students to look at various phases of the moon and study the phases of the moon. One particular favorite for 6th graders is a research project that they do called Fungi Idol. And with that project, they do research on various types of fungus, and then they do skits or songs that reflect their research and make an iMovie using their iPad, and then they share the information as a class so that all students can learn about the various types of fungus that were researched. And they do that by watching it on an Apple TV. So obviously, the grant funding has helped to enhance our student learning in the school setting, but also, equally importantly, it's helped us move closer to getting more devices for our students. And I'm really proud to say that we're now a school that has one portable device for every 2 students. And in the last 5 years, that's been quite an accomplishment, and it's due to the support of the foundation, our building funds, our parent-teacher organization, and obviously district funds. So thanks again for the support from the foundation.
Okay, thank you, Renee. The next recipient that I'd like to introduce is Jeff Otto. Jeff is a technical education teacher, at the high school, and you're going to be very impressed with what he has to say about how he used the money to help his students.
In July of 2012 in Aurora, Colorado, a deranged young man had already been accused of hurting and killing several people at a movie theater and intended on hurting additional people by booby-trapping a place that he knew law enforcement personnel would be investigating for evidence, which was his apartment. So with the assistance of a remote-controlled robot that was capable of traversing the apartment, hazardous material was gathered and analyzed piece by piece to render the apartment safe for human investigators. No additional lives were lost, thanks in part to the technology that was created by humans. High-risk situations like this play out throughout the world on a regular basis. Armed drones, they fly and patrol areas of airspace and gather intelligence that is just too hazardous for human pilots to go. We have robots that collect data from places too far for humans to travel to, like the recent landing of the European Space Agency's Rosetta aircraft to a comet 300 million miles away. There's even little robots that we can use to vacuum our floors, to clean our gutters. So what does all this have to do with the Monona Grove Education Foundation? Well, for more years than I even know of, the MGEF has been providing grants to teachers like me that we can use in some way to benefit our students. So the MGEF has been helping to bring relevancy to the next generation of students who will be designing, building, and operating the next wave of life-saving equipment, flying aircraft, safer automobiles, and other advanced technologies that will make our life safer. A year or two ago, and on behalf of my Skills students, I submitted and received a grant to purchase some robotics equipment for my Skills USA students. And if you're unfamiliar with Skills USA, it's a group that nationally has over 300,000 students. There's over 13,000 local chapters, Monona Grove being one of them. And like other organizations like HOSA and DECA, we have state and national competitions that we can have our students participate in. We have a group here of about 20 to 30 students that we enroll in these competitions. They range from things like construction and bricklaying to engineering and robotics. One of the competitions that we had recently was called Urban Search and Rescue. It's one of the newer competitions that's been added to the list, and this is where the MGEF has helped out with that. We purchased the kits for the students to use, which I figure we can use for at least 10 years, so we'll get good value out of them. They're similar to Erector sets, but of course, they cost a heck of a lot more. They have more bells and whistles. But what we do with those is prior to the competition, we'd gather here at night, we'd eat pizza, and we had more than just one group. We had several groups that participated, but this particular group that was working with this kit was a 2-team design. They'd test it, or they'd design it, prototype it, test it, retest it, make sure it was ready for the state competition. Then they had to operate their robot remotely at the competition by watching on a TV screen what the camera would see that was mounted to their robots, and they had to navigate an unknown course that resembled the interior of a place that was in disarray. So they'd have to go around things, over things. They had to find and grab and return the ordinances that were deemed hazardous to one location. So this year we had 2 of those students, which are George Smith and James Lenberg, that they designed and built their robot using this kit that we purchased with the funds that we received from the MGEF grant. The robot operated flawlessly. It was quick, accurate, reliable. It looked phenomenal. It ended up taking first place at the state competition, and they then headed off to the national competition. And in June, they went down to the national competition in Kansas City. They were up against a lot of other schools. They ended up taking fourth place, which was admirable. George and James, they were recently featured in a magazine article that was put out by one of the major tech ed vendors called Pittsco, highlighting several students, and among them George and James. We'll have a link to this article upon the launch of the new Monona Grove website, which will be coming out soon, so you can take a look at their robot and read a little bit about it there. So without the MGEF, some of this wouldn't really be possible. In fact, in some ways, I don't want to talk too much about the MGF because it's been a nice little thing for me over the past couple of years, because we've also recently applied for another grant a small group of us have been working on, which I think we'll save for another time, but we're very appreciative for the MGEF and allowing us to purchase this equipment. So, thank you.
As you heard, we have some unbelievably talented educators in this school district, and to come up with the grant writing and the requests that they have are just pretty amazing every year. And so you're going to hear another one of those talented educators next, and that is Juan Patea, who is a high school science teacher.
Well, I also want to thank the Monona Grove Education Foundation. I'm very lucky to be teaching in a district that is very supportive. I feel that every day when I see the equipment that I have in my classroom and I see the students engaged in doing science. But every now and then there's a project that is too crazy, I think, for the school to take it from what the school is. So a science teacher last year, as a science teacher, I proposed that our students could create an art exhibit at the Overture Center for the arts. And it's not common that the art will be mixed with science. And the Monona Grove Education Foundation supported us, and we were able to have students from Monona Grove work in a project that was displayed at the Overture Center for the Arts, which I'm very, very proud of, because it's not what I normally do in my science class. So without your support, that would not have been possible at all. So I want to thank you again. It's the third time I get this grant, and every time it's wonderful to be able to do things outside of the classroom that benefit our students, that they feel very proud about what they do. And I'm sure these 5 students who presented the Overture Center will be remembering this forever, because it was quite an experience. So thank you very much.
And our final educator who is going to speak tonight, who was a grant recipient in 2013, is Sheila Hibner. Sheila is a coordinator for our Career and Technical Education program at the high school, and does a whole lot more than that as well. So.
Thanks, Dan. On behalf of myself and Scott,
we repeated this again in October of 2014. When I asked one of our students how he felt about that experience, he said, "For the first time, I felt like I had the capacity to help another person. It put perspective on my life, and it made me want to do more." 6 of our students went to a camp in northern Wisconsin where they did the winter breakdown. A student reported back to the Herald Independent newspaper that the experience allowed the group to bond, it boosted confidence, and it felt good knowing that they could make a difference. 29 members went to the Village Lanes for a pizza and bowling party, and many reported to us that they had never bowled before. 25 students, parents, and grandparents prepared a Thanksgiving meal together here on November 27th of 2013 in our Culinary Arts Department. Collectively, the group met after the school day had ended, an early release, and they brought their family members to prepare their favorite traditional dish to pass and shared a holiday meal at that moment as a highlight to the kickoff of their holiday season. Unfortunately, in January of 2014, we had an untimely snow day, which precluded us from traveling to the Wisconsin Dells to participate in the Department of Workforce Development's Apprenticeship Expo. The DWD had agreed to pay for our bus as a matching grant to the one we'd received from the MGEF. And lastly, in April of 2014, 20 of our students went to the UW-Milwaukee campus to witness firsthand a college campus, a dorm room, a dining facility, and to speak with an academic advisor. I think it's important to note that our Reach Beat goes beyond those self-identified students. The Black Student Union at Monona Grove High School has become a home for many that feel disconnected in our school. Their Friday morning meetings prior to the school day are well attended, and they work diligently to identify goals and to reach them. They shore each other up. And the real benefit is that every one of those students feels like they have their go-to person in the Student Services Department to help with the many challenges they face. So I asked them, what made the difference? What made any difference? And they said, knowing that I could get academic support when I needed it, having an advocate, finding a way to get a ticket for the homecoming dance when I had no money to purchase one, having a conversation with someone about how to resolve conflict with family and friends, getting some assistance so that I could buy a state football championship t-shirt, knowing that I can ask for a snack between classes without being embarrassed, asking and receiving a ride to a shadow day experience, applying for college, having someone tour Madison College with me, having a personal adult relationship in the building, someone who cared about me, knowing someone can help me when I need it most, and not being afraid to ask. Monona Grove Education Foundation, you made a difference.
Looking down at table one, Sheila, Jeff, Renee, on behalf of the Monona Grove Education Foundation, we'd like to thank you for the excellent example that you have set for your colleagues and the opportunities that you have provided to our students. We especially appreciate the judicious use of the money that we made available to you in helping out these students. And we look forward to getting more new ideas from you in the future. One of the big ideas that we have right now this year is the first one of these that we've had, and I don't think we'd be here tonight without the outstanding work of Jennifer Pickle. Jennifer, why don't you stand up? I think everybody knows who you are. Thank you, She has done an absolutely fantastic job of putting this whole project together. And I know she wants to stay on time, and we're just a little over, but so I'll step it up here. For those of you who have chosen to attend this event this evening, on your table is a brochure of the Monona Grove Education Foundation, and it's a small area in there that you can fill in with your name, address, and a donation amount if you should so choose to do so. Again, we really appreciate it. It's donors like you that make our job possible. Thank you, and have a very enjoyable rest of your evening.
John knows me well, I like to be on time. I am going to give you like 5-10 minutes to finish up your desserts while our very capable media people break down this, and then we will be moving into the auditorium for our honoring of Coach Stassi. Thank you for coming.
describe Mike is a humble man who is all about the team. Last winter, I invited Mike and the team to a Village of Cottage Grove board meeting so we could honor them after winning the state championship. He agreed, and despite the blustery, snowy, and cold night, came out with a few players who were brave enough to endure the weather. When Mike rose to speak to the board, what struck me most was that he rarely used the words I or me. All the talking was done about the team and its players and coaches. I thought that was fabulous. You don't always hear that. In fact, I've heard a coach say that this team is talented, but they couldn't have been so successful without their coach. But not Coach Cassidy. All the credit and praise is given to others. I believe that this is the reason he has built such a successful program, and we are so grateful for the example he sets for us all, but especially our kids. We have 4 special people here tonight who will help us honor Mike by bringing their own perspective. But before I let them take over, I have a few words from Brian Storms, who so wanted to be here tonight, but needed to be in Iowa with his son for a swimming competition. He sent me a speech so as not to be completely out of the celebration. So now a few words from Mike's fellow teacher and coach, Brian Storms. These are his words, not mine. These are the things I know to be true about Mike. He is kind of competitive. I was going to make a list of all the things I have beat him at over the last 20 plus years. 1, paper football once back in 1996. That's it. Other things I know about Mike. He likes to eat. Don't take him fishing. He talked the whole time and scared all the fish away. 3 Parthenon gyros and a plaza burger in less than 30 minutes. Was addicted to the computer game Hamster Flight. He can eat on the north side of 20 tacos in a sitting. Did not like my inside defense or my outside defense when I was his D coordinator. Beckwith will understand that one at least. Could not go biking without his bike computer. Can eat 2 Eagle Crest bacon cheeseburgers. Is a master at shaking his head side to side while saying yes, and up and down while saying no. Is a movie quote buff. When he steps into the Happy Walk restaurant,
He was a new football coach. And I figured it had to be the guy in the suit and tie, full head of hair, holding hands with who I later found out was his wife, Cindy. And I remembered, wow, look at the hair on that guy. So as I looked around, after 16 years, the only thing that really has changed with Mike is the hair. But that was my first meeting with Mike Stassi, our head new football coach. And thinking on how to share my experiences tonight, I thought it would be good to recap 16 years of MG football. And then I thought, well, it might get a little long. And I thought, well, again, it's Mike, though, that we're roasting, so 16 years, he doesn't give you too much. So I thought, I'll take you through what I go through during the football season every Monday morning the week of MG football. So Mike, could you join me on stage here for a second? In doing this now, you got to understand that what I try to do is I roll with the coaches every week, win or lose, and I try to greet them on Monday mornings. And so what I thought I would do is, Mike will play the role of me, and I'll play the role of Mike. You got this? I'm going to start off. Okay, so here's week 1.
Hey, Mark. All right. Hey, Mike, how are you doing? How was the scrimmage in McFarland?
Good. Our kids have to get better. I tell you, it was looking really good this year's Oregon. If we're going to win, we need to be better football players.
Hey, Mike, tough game on Friday. How did the game go from the end?
This is week 2 now. Thanks, we can play better. We need to work hard this week. Divorce is going to be tough. We have great kids, but we need to get better. Week 3.
All right. Hey, Mike, nice win on Friday. Did things go the way you wanted them to go?
Thanks. Force is a good football team, but our kids fought hard. We need to get better this week and be ready for Oregon. They're going to be really tough.
I know where this is going. All right. Schreiner, here we go. Great game, Mike. Team looked good. How did things go from your end?
Great. Kids played hard. We got to get better. We need to work hard this week. Reedsburg has its best team ever. Bachner's a good coach. We need to win. Week 5.
We really need to keep doing this. All right. Hey, Mike, nice win on Friday. Did things go the way you wanted them to go?
Thanks. Reedsburg is a good football team, but our kids came ready to play. We need to get better this week and ready for Edgewood. Week 6.
Hey, Mike, nice win on Friday. Did things go the way you expected them?
Yeah, thanks. We played okay, but Edgewood really exposed us to our weaknesses. We need to work hard this week and get better. Week 7.
I really don't give you much to go with, do I? I don't know. All right, week 7. You don't do much better. Listen to what... Hey, Mike, nice win on Friday. How'd things go at Monroe?
Thanks. I'm proud of our kids. They are great kids, but we can get better. Now we have homecoming. Oh boy.
All right, here we go again. The WIA called again, and they really need us to sit down and complete the Coach of the Year forms.
I know. We need to do that. We also need a win Friday. Can I trade this WIA thing for a win Friday? Week 8.
Hey, Mike, nice win on Friday. Did things go the way you wanted them to go?
Thanks. We played well and Fort struggled. Stoughton is going to be tough this year, so we really need to be ready. Our kids better be fired up for this one. Week 9.
Hey, Mike, nice win on Friday. Kids look great, balanced game. And I like the energy. How did it go for you?
Thanks. Kids played well, and they were fired up for that one. You know what Milton's going to do this Friday? They're a real good football team. So that's kind of our Monday conversations. Not much has changed in 16 years. The winning tradition's there. Total respect for the opponent. Total focus on getting better each week. All Mike really wants to do is get a win on Friday night. Doing this job is remarkable. Mike's clock starts early every morning, and for most mornings around 6:30 you can find him here at Monona Grove High School. And where is he? He's in his office watching game film or putting a scheme up on the board, talking with a player or a coach or anybody, another student that wants to hear what he has to say about football. Early in Mike's new appointment as head coach, Mike would look for any edge that he could get on any team. And as an athletic director, as I'd go to try to find Mike, I found that out that he's looking for an edge anywhere he can find it. One of the earlier years, it was playoff time. Technology isn't what it is today for coaches, and so your connection in with other coaches and your networking was real important to get information on other teams. It didn't seem like they shared it out as easy as they do nowadays. So there was one Saturday morning, early in the playoffs, my phone rings, I answer it, and it's Mike, and he's excited. From what I could gather on that phone conversation, Mike's at Middleton Stadium, and he's in the stadium, and he's a little excited because he was looking around the stadium for a program from the football game the night before. And he's telling me, he's saying, this is ridiculous. I've been in and under the bleachers, and I can't find a program, I can't find a candy wrapper, I can't find nothing. In fact, I've been through all the dumpsters, and everything is done. I think they did this on purpose, so I can't find a program. And I'm thinking, you kidding me? And he goes, you need to call our athletic director, I need to get a program so I can prepare for the game, our next game. I'm thinking, wow, this guy's for real. This is our football coach. He is really looking for an edge here. And then I thought, did I just hear his son TJ with him? And he goes, yeah, TJ's with me, and he can prove it, that we looked through everything. And then I listened some more, and I could hear TJ saying, come on, Dad, do I really got to go through the dumpster again? There's nothing in here. And that's where I knew the commitment of Mike Stassi was for real as far as MG football. The next thing I remember is Camp Randall 2004. This is a memory for me because we were an up and coming team. Our numbers were up and coming as well. Who can forget the road to Camp Randall in 2004? We had a great football team that year, and I remember when we got to playoff time, all of a sudden we saw the brackets. We took a look at that. We were conference champs, yet the road to Camp Randall was going to be a tough one after game one. So here's a little recap of 2004 for some of you that might not know it. Those of you that didn't hear that, remember that year, kind of incredible. We made it through game one, beat Baraboo 31-14, and next up was Wanakee. Wanakee was our nemesis. It was either at their place or it was at our place. And because of criteria, this game was going to be at our place. We had a fast team that year, and I remember Mike going on saying that the field's got to be ready to go. We got to have a dry field so we can get traction to beat Wanakee. Well, the forecast calls for rain and snow that night, and so Mike went to his resources, and brother-in-law that had access to some paper. He wanted the field papered from the 35-yard line to 35-yard line with plastic wrapping. So we took all the hurdles we had, took all the players and coaches, and we put paper on the field from 35 to 35 to keep it dry. It worked. The next morning we got up. We got a little moisture that night, but the field was dry. We peeled all the paper off. Our kids were tired by the time the game started, but we were fired up. Coach's arms were a little longer, carrying the hurdles off, and everyone was sweating by the time the game started and shivering on the sideline, but nobody had an idea what went on before everybody got there. Anyway, as the game went on, we went on to win that game 41-28, beating Wanakee and moving on to game three. Next up, game three was against Menominee, a powerhouse program with tradition, and the game was to be played on their home field. As we got to Tuesday, started working with boosters and we got a game plan together. Menominee was going to be a long road trip for us. The game plan was to upgrade our school bus to a coach bus. This not only got the coaches excited, but at that time we had a lot of student athletes that were never on a coach bus going to a football game, so they were really excited too. The plan was to go halfway, get the kids off the bus, get a bite to eat, and then get them back on and head to Menominee. Well, on Wednesday, the WIA calls me, and a student threat in Menominee High School caused the game to be moved to lacrosse. Mike heads into my office. That's the edge Mike needed, and he felt pretty good about going to lacrosse to play in Menominee. I'll never forget, we get down to lacrosse, and I thought for sure they were going to come over and ask me, is that okay if we can move a little bit more onto your side of the field? Because they had over 100 players on the field, and we were pulling maybe, like 35, 40 kids there. So we were the little guy on the field that night, but as the game went on, Menominee High School had a new respect for Monona Grove football as we left the stadium with the win and heading on to game four. Game four was against the Schwabenon up at Oshkosh. Much like game three, this was a powerhouse football program with state tournament tradition on their mind. Again, our program showed up in one bus and a coaching staff that had our kids ready to play. Respect for Monona Grove football on the way out was not what it was on the way in for Schwabenon, and the stadium was kind of in shock that they didn't get through that game. State game, what a ride to Camp Randall. How much more could our kids endure? We just went through a lot of number one seeded teams all the way through where they thought Monona Grove didn't have a chance. Here we were heading to Camp Randall. We were facing a team, Waukesha West, who was also a good football team, and they were successful in state champs that day. But Mike Stassi gave Monona Grove football players and fans something to talk about Monona Grove football. So in closing, taking a look at what Mike Stassi has done for Monona Grove football as head coach. He's a District Phi Ed teacher for his career here. Head coach for 16 years, 2 state championship appearances with 1 state title, 14 seasons as a playoff qualifier and contender, 10 Badger Conference championships, record of 141-42. He took over a varsity football program that had a roster of 26 to 29 students each year, and for the past 9 years, he's increased that roster size to 48 to 50 students. He has shaped a winning program and a winner in over 1,000 student athletes through the sport of football at MG. As an athletic director, Mike and his staff of coaches have given us a successful Friday night community connector that knows how to win. He has brought statewide attention to Monona Grove and the Badger Conference while always respecting the opponent in the game. He has always been the coach that doesn't seem to try to impress yet he's most impressive. He never tries pressing to persuade, yet you always leave a football game convinced. And he's the kind of guy we enjoy being around because he is what we'd all like to be. Someone who enjoys being himself, and someone who enjoys being the coach at Monona Grove High School. So thanks.
Thank you, Jeff. Our next speaker is a member of Mike's state championship team, Tyler Blaine.
All right, so I want to say that last year I played Coach Stassi in badminton one day in gym class and I beat him. And I think he was really mad at me and we ran extra gassers that day at practice. So I just want to say that Coach Stassi is responsible for the best day of my life, and it was the state game last year. He taught me and many others life lessons that we will never forget. I know he'll probably just sit there and shake his head in disagreement the whole time because he's such a humble man. But he really is the greatest man you will ever meet. If there was a Monona Grove Football Hall of Fame, he would be the first name on the list, not only as a coach, but as a player. He's like the Vince Lombardi of Monona Grove. He is the all-American man. He is the man you want your son to become. There's not one player at MG that doesn't respect Coach Stassi. And honestly, there isn't one kid in the entire school that doesn't respect Coach Stassi. He is a winner. For those of you that don't know, he can't even play his wife in cards because he hates losing so much. My brother told me one day that he saw a PlayStation in the coach's office. So he asked Coach Beckwith what it's there for. Coach Beckwith told him that Coach Stassi likes to come in there at night and play against other coaches in Madden football. So I think that's where he gets all his talent from. Since Coach Stassi can't play real football anymore, he needed to do something to stay in shape. So last summer he would ride his bike 20 to 30 miles a day, and he would tell all of us about it. So one day he was biking himself down the Glacial Drumlin State Trail, and two guys wearing their spandex and their fancy biking uniforms and helmets came flying past him. And Stassi, in his competitive mindset, he's like, oh, heck with that. So he sped up as fast as he could, and he passed them, and he looked back, and he noticed they were going even faster and tried to catch him again. So he just keeps going, and he finally gets off the trail, and he looks back, and he noticed they stopped, and they're all tired and out of breath. And he told me that that was such a great feeling to know that he showed those little fancy bikers that the old man still got it. Another quote from Stassi that all the players love is, care more, and when are you going to care more? If someone messes up a play in practice, Coach Stassi would say, if I gave you $100, would you have made that play? And the player always goes, oh yeah, of course. And he goes, well, when are you going to care more? It shouldn't take you $100 to make that play. So one night, while I was at my house eating dinner with my family, my little sister had just 1 or 2 bites of food left on her plate, and she said she was full. So of course, me and my brother jokingly said to her, if we gave you $100, would you be able to eat that last bite of food? When are you going to care more and finish your food? My sister goes, I'll care more when you give me that $100. So I don't think she'd make a very good football player, but that's all right. If I had never had Stassi as my coach, I definitely would not be the same person I am today. He has such a positive influence on everyone around him. 6 straight conference championships. He basically does this for free. He doesn't do it for the money or for the fame. He does it because he loves the game, and it's the next best thing to actually playing. I've never seen a person put more time into something they love just to be successful. But that's why he is successful, because he puts in the time. After a game on Friday night, we show up to film at 8 a.m. the next morning. And honest to God, he has the same clothes that he was wearing the night before on. Sometimes they're even just flipped inside out. But we think he stays there all night just studying film. He really does squeeze the lemon and gets everything out of himself, his coaches, and his players. And that's what makes him the greatest coach that anyone could ask for. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Our next speaker is longtime friend of Mike's, Roger Hamilton.
Thank you for the opportunity for me to talk about Mike. To appreciate Mike, I have to go back to the late 60s. On Roygan Terrace in Monona, there were always baseball, basketball games, touch football in the street, and tackle in the yard or down at Winnequa Park. Mike was already a speedster with a mischievous laugh when he beat you. Mr. and Mrs. Stassi. To our parents, they were Tony and Trudy. I have several very interesting memories of Mr. Stassi. Most are very fond. One would haunt me years later. But that's more about me and less about Mike. Or is it? Mike would play Pee Wee football, but I really don't remember that point in time. We did start noticing his exploits with the Silver Lions. It wasn't even on our radar what he might do here at Monona Grove. There were some epic Badger Conference battles I saw in the early 70s as Mr. Rundle was building his legacy. Mr. Rundle had resigned, but then returned. I was stunned at the physique and athletic ability of Mike. First as a sophomore, then helping the 77 team to an undefeated 10-0 state championship. I actually remember visiting briefly with Mrs. Stassi that chilly night in Oconomowoc. She told me she had to set one of the fans straight about the greatness of the team. In the 90s, I had a couple small chats with Mike as he was an assistant under two head coaches that had succeeded Mr. Rundle. Mike was very positive, despite the negative vibes he was getting. In my last conversation with the senior Mr. Stassi, prior to his passing, I had shared how I was struggling with my own late father's decisions. He had said Mike and Cindy had split. And then he said, Roger, you have to let go, and you have to forgive, and let God. In the late 90s, something transforming happened to Mike. I call it comeback number 1. He received Jesus Christ as his Savior. He put God first, his family second. He remarried Cindy. Wow, I have to watch this guy. Oh yes, the Board of Education names Mike as a new head coach. I call that comeback number 2. I got the extreme pleasure of interviewing Mike on that day. It went into the Independent at the time. As he walks toward the home stands, New Monona Grove head football coach Mike Stassi was greeted by several students, but it was Brandon Scullion, a freshman, who approached Stassi with his hands held high and a grand smile, who expressed the sentiments of several players and the community members. In chatting with Mr. Stassi regarding his new appointment, I'm looking forward to looking in the stands full of our fans on a Friday night, supporting their team. And you know, I want to take Monona Grove back to state. Dick Rundle had a legendary tradition here. I would like to put MG back on the state football map. I have to confess, I've covered a lot of high school sports all over this area for the past many years. It really floored me when Mike started having a videographer capturing pregame, halftime, and post-game conversations with his staff and team. I have been to several team talks, good, bad, and indifferent. I will tell you, there is no doubt in my mind where domestic abuse issues can start. I took my middle adult daughter to a playoff game a few years ago. After hearing the other coach spew obscenities, Renee looked at me and said, "That's the winning coach?" I said, "Let's go listen to Mike." She then heard the respectful leader talk to his team. Afterward, he came over, gave Renee a hug, and thanked her for coming. Renee looked at me and said she had witnessed the let's go, forgive, and let God. A number of times I have seen MG take a knee instead of upping the score late in the game. He considers his players family. He asks them to make wise decisions. He tells them he loves them, not just every game, but in practices too. My oldest daughter, Rachel, was one of Mike's early Phi Ed students. Her boss came to her at work back on November 22nd, and with his head down, saying, "MG is down 17-0 at half." Rachel later noted the impact of that moment with scripture in a scrapbook she gave to Mike. From 1 Peter she wrote, "Humble yourselves under God, mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time." Rachel told me back on that day, "Dad, I just prayed we could get a score." I find that very interesting, as that was what Coach Stassi was asking his players, just get me a score. There are two drives, football drives, in football that bring me to my knees. The first was back in 1967, when the Packers drove 67 yards for a winning touchdown in the Ice Bowl. That was for the third straight NFL title. Understand, Monona Grove coming from behind to win in 2004 at level 4 in Oshkosh. That had me in tears. So did Tyler Blang's passing to Brock Offerdahl for a winning touchdown on 4th and goal from the 10 against Catholic Memorial. But the final drive, I said to myself, oh my God, this is possible. When Torn Young ran to the left side for 19 yards on 4th and 1 with 4 minutes left. I was in tears already. One of the players turned to me and said, "You're really into this, aren't you?" As the clock went 3, 2, 1, I was photographing Mike being hugged by his staff and players. My dream of Mike Stassi winning a state title as a player and a coach at Monona Grove just became real. Mike is gracious in defeat, as much as it hurts, and it's hard. But I am so proud that he is a humble and gracious state champion. Praise God.
Thank you, Roger. Our final speaker tonight is Brandon Beckwith.
Well, first of all, I got to thank MGEF and Jennifer for putting this together because, well, we've talked about the athletic complex for probably a few years now. So I do appreciate now kind of bringing some things to the forefront, but also everything you guys do, the MGEF for students all over the school. And thanks, Jennifer. I'm trying to work two things at once here, so let's see if it works from here. Mike Stassi. Well, when I attended Monona Grove High School, graduated in '96. When I was in middle school, I had the pleasure, I would come down to Nichols School and help out in the gym. Look at that jovial guy, he's got ice cream in his hand. He's always smiling, he's got ice cream. Just a few things. Favorite letters, MG, X, and O. Struggles with technology except for making play sheets in the office. Sorry, school budget, but we see play sheets all over the place. He's an expert in making play sheets. Recently, this was very recently, just learned what hashtag meant. Right? We had to teach him that was actually a couple weeks ago. He's a lover of Brett Favre. He's a lover of, I think they're are they Pomeranians? Yeah, barking dogs, little yippers, loves those. Okay. Disliked, now I put ED at the end of that, okay. Disliked Homecoming. Hated rap. Loves weird movies. It's kind of like some sci-fi things. He's asked me if I see different TV series and movies, and I'm not sure what he's talking about sometimes. Hates turkey and mayo. We've been in that coach's office. You know, we order sandwiches. It's always ham and dry. That's a great lifestyle we live. And obviously hates to lose. Well, there he is, right there, number 21 in your hearts, everybody. Badger football player. I was just thinking about this today. What's that? That's when you married him? Oh boy. That's what led into defining moment number 2. Actually, I just saw this today. Melvin Gordon broke the single game rushing record with LaDainian Tomlinson on his last carry of the game, but he broke Mike's single game record on his first carry of the game. We got some quotes up here. You know, we got Jeff and Tyler and Roger all sent some of these quotes earlier, and it's true. Most of them start with when I used to play for the Badgers, though. He's a humble guy. I love him to death, but it always starts with when I used to play for the Badgers. or Dave McLean once told me, or Dick Rundle, but there's some quotes there, obviously. Up until 2013, as a state championship, he enjoyed the humble lifestyle. He relaxed to his 70s music, has some cigars at home. We go over there once in a while. Still kind of does it. Actually, there's a picture here of him back. I think the original Eagles member right there. Mike is number 3 in the Eagles member. Then we win the state championship. Well, you win a state championship, you're still humble, and these guys said the right things, but I see a little bit of different side. He gets a little, puffs the chest up now. Next thing you know it, he's speaking in a state clinic to everybody, telling everybody else how to coach. Now, you can't see that. It says, I don't know what's that. That speaks to the state. Enjoys the spotlight, I think it's supposed to say. So in 2014 came, then he starts enjoying the spotlight. And the next thing you know it, he's a 70s rocker. He starts performing. The humble 70s rocker now has a fame-hungry rapper. And Mike, of course, we talk here, lives his life by the 3 F's. First F, faith. We talked about that. Roger talked about a kind of a defining moment in the late 90s with faith, and he says it all the time. As a God's honest Christian man, what nobody knows is, though, in the late 90s, when he was discovering faith, he went and got this tattoo on his back. Pretty good. I think it was a little overdone, but whatever. But the truth is, Mike is actually a little bossy. Okay, here's an example. Look at him yelling at the referee here. You need to make the correct call. He's pointing his finger. That's not very Christian-like. I said, park the car over there. Get over there, little youth campers. But here's obviously the best one. You will win one more game. That's my favorite. 3 F's. Number 2. What is number 2 probably? Well, football in this sense. Football. Football. The many emotions of football. The many emotions of Mike. After wins, big wins, he gives these great speeches. He is a great humble man. Gives great speeches. His facial expressions are great. For example, excited. Look at how excited he looks there. Big win. There's McCoskey's flow right here. Calm. Look at that. He's calm. Uh-oh. Tyler, is that you right there? That's you. Ecstatic. Sometimes we got to push him over a little bit after big wins. Make sure he's still with us. Spiritual. Oh, there's a good spiritual one. And finally, jubilant. That is a big one right there. Within football, he obviously had a couple defining moments. One obviously took place last season when hoisting that gold ball. There's nothing better there. We almost got a smile out of him there too. Okay. But defining moment 2 came this year. The humble guy who also now starts to like the spotlight. The truth is he hates it. He hates the spotlight. So we go to McFarland for a scrimmage this year. And at the end of the scrimmage, first of all, we kicked the crap out of them. But their coaches and everybody say, well, the winner of this scrimmage is based off this field goal, this extra point right here. And we're looking at each other like, oh, man. And you could tell Mike's his face is kind of getting. So defining moment was 2, here it is. Coach Stassi lining it up to win the game. Look at that face, gritting it out, drills it. We win the scrimmage. Next thing you know, we don't scrimmage them in the future anymore. Now they're off our scrimmage list. Homecoming. And comes homecoming. Now, it was alluded to in some of the other speeches. Homecoming around here, well, they canceled it. I think Mike might have been one of the reasons why they canceled it for years. But that's just something I'm thinking. But up until state championship and up until those defining moments, Mike hated homecoming. Now, here's him this year with the dancers. And there is, time to get low, Mike. He's all about it this year. And finally, this is how we ended it. Everybody's, there's Stassi. Everybody's passing him around. So he might fool some of you. I think in his true heart, he's a big homecoming guy. Finally, the last F, faith, football, and what the heck? Faith, football, and wrong, Cindy. Food. I knew I could get you on that one. Food. No, he loves his family too, I guess. Taco John's. It said something. You can't go to Taco John's without. I think he actually just went there last week. Only 14. Tuesday was 14 tacos. Happy Walk. It's like here it is. Got to get at least beef and broccoli, spicy, like they said. Mike, they know his order. Oh. All you can eat pasta. I got an Olive Garden. One of the first times I went out to eat with Mike, Olive Garden, all you can eat. And I love Mike, and I'm like, oh, this is great. We're going out to eat, all you can eat. I'm not kidding you. I never thought I'd go out to eat with Mike ever again in my life. All you can eat pasta. First of all, the lady puts down the pasta, and immediately it's like just slams this pasta. Not even 10 seconds later, he's like snapping and ordering the waitress back for more pasta, and I'm thinking, holy crap, how do I get out of here right now? And I think Troy was running around the tables, but over the years, obviously, things have been a little bit better in that realm. But finally, habaneros, got to put a plug in for habaneros, 2 steak burritos. He puts those down in a heartbeat. So food has been a thing for Mike, okay? And recently, and I don't know if you guys know this was a few years back, Mike was in the Nathan's hot dog. He got beat by Joey Chestnut, but he was off to the side. Nobody even knows that. But here's what happens. He struggled. He got that face. He was struggling. So what he decided to do was, you know what, I'm done with my food competitions, gave up food contests, and I decided to take up bicycling. So here's day one. There's Mike, day one. Now he's ready to go. And then recently, there he is. He's the cover of the Bicycling Man. For everybody out there too, I don't think Mike's not sick. He bicycles. I got to answer that question. Is Mike sick? What happened to him? He's losing all this weight. Bicycling. Finally, and I wanted to go quick here. Mike knows when he's around me. I will say right to his face, I give him crap all the time. He goes around with me. I love him to death. He's obviously a great son. He's a great husband, great father. He was a great athlete, of course. Teacher, like Tyler said, you'd be hard pressed to find. I can't. I've never heard anybody in this school, student-wise, say they dislike Mike Stassi as a teacher. It's weird. I always wonder why. I'm like, how does that happen? What do you do? But it's true. Coach, obviously, and a mentor to me. He took me on his staff in 2004. Well, that's probably why we went to state. But no. But I played for him, and in 1996, we actually petitioned at that time to get him, we wrote letters and signed letters for him to become the head coach when I was in high school, because we cared about him as a player as much as the players do now care for him as well. That didn't work out. We did not have Mike Stassi as a head coach. The district decided to go another route, but that's another story. But he's been a mentor to me since I was in high school, and I love him dearly. Continue to love him. Let's take a moment of silence remembering Mike Stassi. Oh, no, he's still alive. If he was dead, I think we'd make more money. So everybody save your stuff for next time, okay? Then we might be able to get some pity money for the athletic complex. But overall, and I think he cares for all living things, especially Pomeranians, but put at the end, and I think this is the biggest compliment to Mike in every aspect of the word, #winner. Not just wins and losses, his whole life. Every area of his life, he's a winner. So thank you, Mike, for doing what you do. Thank you all. Thank you, MGEF. And thank you again.
Hello? Does this one work? Thank you, Brandon. Now, Coach, I sent you an email and asked if you wanted to speak a little. There was silence at the end of that email. But I am going to call you up here because we have a little gift for you from the MGEF board.
First of all, I'd like to thank Jennifer for putting this together, and you know, I was wowed just being asked to do this, but then I got wowed a little bit more when I heard where this money goes to and how it's helping kids out. And so anytime we get an opportunity to help people out, I think it's just awesome. And what you guys are doing and giving money to help some of these programs that it will help the kids, then that's way more important than, you know, doing stuff on your own or this stuff that we're doing roasting. It's all about, you know, the kids and what we can do to help them. And I want to thank all of you for being here, all of you people here that have donated and have helped out. What a great thing. What a great thing. And I'm much appreciated for this and humbled. And the people that talked, thank you very much. It was really awesome, and I'm very, very appreciative. So I hope you all have a great night. And again, thanks for being here. Thank you very much.
All right, folks, that will conclude our program. Silent auction, you might want to check in at where you checked in today. Check in there to see if you're a winner of the silent auction, and we can take care of that there for you. I appreciate everybody coming tonight. It's always a little scary when you do something for the first time, so I think this was a great night, and thank you for coming.